probably should unmute my mic, right? We're all professionals here. Not I. All right, guys, welcome back to Games with Nix. How are you? Welcome to the stream. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to have a discussion on children in gaming. Probably not going to go forever, but as we go along, I'm going to do a short little monologue of stuff that I want to say and the stuff I've noticed. And then we're going to get into kind of a Q&A and more discussion type after we do that. So please feel free to comment and be part of the discussion. Otherwise, it's just going to be me talking. And while this is great for a YouTube video, for a stream, I mean, discussion is paramount, right? When it comes to just talk. Anyways, so let's get started. As gamers, we are increasingly experiencing the pitfalls and newly invented traps that come with interacting in a virtual world, where anonymous socializing is not only the norm, but at times unavoidable. Because of this, we are forced to face almost unpredictable behaviors of others, both for ourselves and for those who lack the experience to know how to navigate the choppy waters that are poor examples of human interaction, predators, and bullying. So, what do we do about this issue? Who do we turn to? Whose responsibility is it to protect children in social gaming? More and more, as we give people opportunities to abuse technology and access to minors, we are forced to face this issue, as well as we are presented with examples of what harm can be done. It is a very difficult obstacle. The right answers are not as easy as our solutions would make them seem. I personally have 3 children. And just like their father, they are immensely immersed in online games. From Fortnite to Minecraft, they watch YouTube videos of adult gamers playing these games. And they are exposed to chat from adults and other minors themselves that play those games as well. I personally feel I would do anything to protect my kids. And I am forced to face the fact that unlike my childhood, my kids live in a much more socially interactive gaming environment. The examples that are given by other gamers, whether by what those gamers say to my kids, or God forbid, attempt to do to them, are just for the majority not great. Not really great at all. When they see their father game, it's one story, of course. But when they are exposed to others, there just is no telling how those other people, protected by anonymity, will treat my children, and how they will pursue them. It's a scary thing as a parent. So in my opinion, before we push ahead to implement more ways to connect our children with other people, we have to first begin to find solutions. Today on my channel, we are going to start that conversation. I want all of you to talk to me and each other. What are your experiences? What are your thoughts, ideas, solutions, opinions? Let's get this conversation started for the most vulnerable demographic in gaming, children. Okay? So, now that I've got that out there, let's talk a little bit about a lot of the things that have been going on, especially when it concerns children and gaming. One big thing, and I'm going to try to bring up this article now. One big thing is there was an article recently by the New York Times, and that article is titled, let me get this all set up so I can you know what, just reduce this window. Yay! The title is Video Games and Online Chats Are Hunting Grounds for Sexual Predators. Now, our kids have a lot of, our kids or other kids, they may, you know, some of you probably are too young to have kids or just haven't had kids or have no desire to have kids. Regardless, children run into a lot of different obstacles when it comes to gaming, and the fact that we live in a society now, in an environment in gaming where the social interaction, the element of social interaction has been injected into games, which creates a more diverse and entertaining platform for us to interact and play games together. However, when it comes to children and even some adults as well, it creates a uneasy foundation for those kids and the safety they have from other people, or how they perceive human interaction, or how they perceive the way they are supposed to treat other people as a result of that interaction. But of course, the most dangerous thing to children in gaming is creating a link there between that person on the other end of the screen and the children themselves that opens them up to some kind of harm, whether emotionally, mentally, or physically. There is a huge opening for the unpredictability of people themselves to impose their unstable, I don't want to say unstable, not everybody's unstable, but this just has to do with, you know, some specific people that, you know, choose to be this way. It exposes our kids and other children to the whims of anonymous people on the other end of the screen. Part of that is sexual predators themselves, and this article in the New York Times addresses that. And it names, I'm just going to warn you, it names a lot of companies and stuff like that. Obviously, the issue has to do with just one company. And no one company is at fault. There also is the question of who is responsible for the safety of children. Is it the parent? Is it the developer who made that game? Is it some kind of platform that your children are able to link and interact about gaming, such as a website, forums, VoIP programs such as Discord and other VoIPs. Who's responsible for that protection? And I'm just going to say this right off the bat. I think we're all responsible. I think the parents responsible. I think the developer's responsible. And I think whatever form of communication, whether it be external or internally with the game, that specific platform to communicate is responsible as well. Now this, there's a lot of websites and stuff that aren't specifically geared towards gaming, but that facilitates a way for people to communicate when it comes to gaming, such as Reddit, such as individual gaming community and organization websites with forums, through any type of social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. All of these are platforms that provide a way to communicate with other people. And because of gaming, because your kids and other children absorb that content, these are possible. You take a drink. Venues. These are possible venues, platforms for your children to be exposed to other people and whatever interactions they may choose to impose on your child. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and read this article because I think it's pretty interesting. And if none of you had read it, and I'll go ahead and I'll link it in chat as well. If I post this on YouTube, I'll go ahead and put the link in my YouTube post as well, and Cursed Gamers YouTube channel on YouTube. Cool. Actually, I should do that through there so everybody gets it. Okay. So I'm just going to go through this here. So the title of the article was "Video Games and Online Chats Are Hunting Grounds for Sexual Predators." The subtitle of the article is "Criminals Are Making Virtual Connections with Children Through Gaming and Social Media Platforms. One popular site warns visitors, please be careful." Let's go ahead, and I'm just going to go through and kind of read this article with you. Or to you. I'm not reading it with you. You're probably not reading it with me. So let's go ahead and do this. When Kate's 13-year-old son took up Minecraft and Fortnite, she did not worry. The video games were hardly Grand Theft Auto, banned in their home because it was too violent, and he played in a room where she could keep an eye on him. But about 6 weeks later, Kate saw something appalling pop up on the screen. A video of bestiality involving a young boy. And I have to note, unless I'm wrong, they spelled bestiality wrong. Not that that matters. Horrified, she scrolled through her son's account on Discord, a platform where gamers can chat while playing. The conversations were filled with graphic language and imagery of sexual acts posted by others, she said. Her son broke into tears when she questioned him last month. This is in quotations. "I think it's a huge weight off them for somebody to step in and say, actually, this is child abuse and you're being abused and you're a victim here," said Kate, who asked not to be identified by her full name to protect her family's privacy. Sexual predators and other bad actors have found an easy access point into the lives of young people. They are meeting them online through multiplayer games and chat apps, making virtual connections right in their victims' homes. The criminals strike up a conversation and gradually build trust. Often they pose as children confiding in their victims with false stories of hardship or self-loathing. Their goal typically is to dupe children into sharing sexually explicit photos and videos of themselves, which they use as blackmail for more imagery, much of it increasingly graphic and violent. Reports of abuse are emerging with unprecedented frequency around the country. And I must note, I'm sure it's not just here, I'm sure it's everywhere, not just, in the United States. With some perpetrators grooming hundreds and even, now pay attention to that term, grooming, Hundreds and even thousands of victims, according to a review of prosecutions, court records, law enforcement reports, and academic studies. Games are a common target, but predators are also finding many victims on social platforms like Instagram and Kick Messenger. I like how a lot of these articles, they talk in a way that you can tell it's somebody that is not involved in that environment, because they sound very adult and mature and a lot more technical than we sound. Okay, anyways, continuing on. The New York Times reported earlier this year that the tech industry had made only tepid efforts to combat an explosion of child sexual abuse imagery on the internet. The Times has also found that the troubled response extends to the online gaming and chat worlds, where popular and successful companies have created spaces that allow adults and children to interact, despite efforts to create some safeguards. There are tools to detect previously identified abuse content, but scanning for new images like those extorted in real time from young gamers is more difficult. While a handful of products have detection systems in place, there is little incentive under the law to tackle the problem, as companies are largely not held responsible for illegal content posted on their websites. This is in quotation marks as well. Our society says we're going to protect kids in the physical world, but we've yet to see that in the same way on the digital side, said Stephen J. Grocki, who leads the Child Exploitation and Obscenity section of the Justice Department. A spokesman for Discord said in a statement that the company had a zero-tolerance policy for any illegal activity. Quotation, "No parent should have to worry about their child is exposed to inappropriate content," he added. "And we deeply empathize with the challenges that families face in protecting their children online." End of quotation. 6 years ago, a little over 50 reports of the crimes commonly known as sextortion were referred to the federally designated clearinghouse in suburban Washington that tracks online child sexual abuse. Last year, the center received over 1,500, and the authorities believe that the mass majority of sextortion cases are never reported. There has been some success, I guarantee. They believe, but I guarantee. There has been some success in catching predators. In May, a California man was sentenced to 14 years in prison for coercing an 11-year-old girl, quotation, into producing child pornography. After meeting her through the online game Clash of Clans, a man in suburban Seattle got a 15-year sentence in 2015 for soliciting explicit imagery from 3 boys after posing as a teenager while playing Minecraft and League of Legends. An Illinois man received a 15-year sentence in 2017 after threatening to rape 2 boys in Massachusetts, adding that he would kill one of them, who he had never met, over Xbox Live. Quotation, "The first threat is, if you don't do it, I'm going to post on social media, and by the way, I've got a list of your family members and I'm going to send it all to them." End of quotation, said Matt Wright, a special agent with the Department of Homeland Security. If they don't send another picture, they'll say, "Here's your address. I know where you live. I'm going to kill your family." The trauma can be overwhelming for the young victims. An FBI study reviewing a sample of sextortion cases found that more than a quarter of them led to suicide or attempted suicide. In 2016, a Justice Department report identified sextortion as, quotation, "by far the most significantly growing threat to children," end of quotation. It makes sense. The gaming world is where many predators would go. It's where the children are. Almost every single teenage boy in America, 97%, plays video games, while about 83% of girls do, according to the Pew Research Center. In many states, gaming counts as a team sport and can earn players a varsity letter, which is, I wish they had that when I was young, but even still. Colleges offer scholarships to elite gamers, and cities are racing to establish professional teams. The industry is enormously profitable, generating over $43 billion in revenue last year in the United States. There are many ways for gamers to meet online. They can use built-in chat features on consoles like Xbox and services like Steam, or connect on sites like Discord and Twitch. The games have become extremely social, and developing relationships with strangers on them is normal. In many instances, the abusive relationships start in the games themselves. In other cases, adults posing as teenagers move conversations from gaming sites and chat rooms to platforms like Facebook, Messenger, Kik, and Skype, where they can communicate more privately. These virtual spaces are essentially hunting grounds, said Mary Ann Franks, a professor at the University of Miami School of Law and president of the Cyber Civil Rights Initiative, a nonprofit group dedicated to combating online abuse. One platform frequently used by predators is the video chat site Omegle. I've never actually heard of this site. Interesting. It's probably a good thing that I haven't, well, not that I haven't heard of it, but that I don't know much about it, because that would be worrisome, right? Users need look no further than the site's homepage to find that out. Quotation, predators have been known to use Omegle, so please be careful. I hope I'm not butchering that name. The site advises under a banner that exclaims, "Talk to strangers." Isn't that interesting? So they have a banner that exclaims, "Talk to strangers." And then underneath that, they have a caption that says, "Predators have been known to use Omegle, so please be careful." Omegle did not respond to requests for comment. This fall, the FBI rolled out an awareness campaign in middle and high schools to encourage children to seek help when caught in an exploitive sexual situation. Even if you accepted money or a game credit or something else, you are not the one who is in trouble, material from the campaign explains. All of it worries Bubba Gadehart, the executive director of the Varsity Esports Foundation, which gives high schools financial assistance to promote, quote, healthy gaming habits, end quote, and develop students' science and technology skills. Every time there's a new report of predatory behavior, he said, people ask, quote, who's to blame? Schools, society, parents, end quote. And now we need to add game developers, websites, social, chat apps, that sort of thing. Well, it's all of us. Playing with strangers. It was a gamer's paradise last month. 35,000 people had registered for a video game conference in Atlanta called DreamHack, a weekend-long festival for fans to meet and play for companies to showcase new offerings. There were exhilarated gamers everywhere. Some passed out on sofas from exhaustion. Ben Halpert, it reminds me of The Office. Sorry, just the name does. Ben Halpert was not one of them. As he surveyed the exhibition space, he saw potential peril around every corner. Mr. Halpert runs Savvy Cyber Kids, a nonprofit focused on online safety, a subject he was there to talk about. Tech has made it easier for predators to get to our kids faster and more efficiently, he said, adding that it made children vulnerable by normalizing communication with strangers. Crazy Zeet, what's up? Parents need to make more control over the content that their own children are viewing, hence parental ratings control features on every single device. Yeah, Crazy Z, one thing I was mentioning earlier is that I believe it's everybody's responsibility, right? We have to make sure, just like in government, we have checks and balances. You know, we have checkpoints for everything to make sure things don't get out of hand. Just as it comes with children and gaming, we need those checks and balances within gaming. The drawback to gaming as it is today is it's still kind of a new concept, especially when it comes to socializing in game and what we can do to protect children in games, right? So the checks have to be all across the board. It has to start with the parents. It has to be facilitated by the company who develops the game. And then it has to be implemented by that developer or by companies that develop technology to help protect children when it comes to gaming, right? And I'll talk a little bit about a few companies that are doing that now or that are launching betas of programs to work with game developers and stuff like that to better facilitate either regulation of the interacting of minors with, other gamers, or the matchmaking process for which they are linked with other gamers. I will continue. Today, even games meant for small children, like on Roblox, allow players to chat with others. His own daughter was just 6, Mr. Halper said, when another player in a children's animal game asked who she was. Quotation, I didn't even know they could chat, he said. It had nothing to do with gameplay, and none of the other animals were talking to each other. That was someone reaching out to my daughter. After making contact, predators often build on the relationship by sending gifts or gaming currency such as V-Bucks and Fortnite. Then they begin desensitizing children to sexual terms and imagery before asking them to send naked pictures and videos of their own. Quotation, parents are telling their kids at 6 years old, keep your clothes on online. Wow, I thought... Okay, you... Sir, have gotten your stuff deleted. Parents are telling their kids at 6 years old, keep your clothes on online, Mr. Halper said, but they need to. Mr. Halper had arranged to hold a panel on extortion that DreamHack... was able to delete that? Okay, good. It did delete on stream. And those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. People have no self-control when it comes to the internet. Right? Dude, come on. Don't come into my stream. I'm literally talking about, toxicity and bullying and sexual abuse and all kinds of abuse when it comes to children and stuff like that. And you get people coming to chat on streaming services such as Mixer and Twitch and stuff like that, being complete poor representations of how people should act online. You're not by yourself in front of your computer, buddy. You're interacting with actual real people. So please grow up and learn how to interact. Mr. Halpert had arranged to hold a panel on sextortion at DreamHack, but it proved difficult to find experts to join the discussion, he said. Some prominent cosplayers, a game community manager, and a former esports professional sat on stage with him, but they focus on other problems like cyberbullying. What'd you say? Oh, Crazy Z. That is too true. I refuse to play most games because of all you mentioned. I would love to be able to hop into a lobby with a guarantee of adult players. Yeah. Yes and no. I would like a game where it can filter out or regulate all behavior. That way we can cut down on toxicity, on predatory behavior, on cyberbullying, all that sort of thing. And I know that's not, no, don't say sorry. That's okay. And I know that's not a popular opinion amongst everybody, because there are people out there that feel like, or have the urge to act however they want to act when it comes to being online and interacting with other people. They feel some kind of sense of power, or they get some kind of satisfaction out of treating other people like crap, right? And while it hits some of us and just slides right off the back for other people, depending on their current living situation and their environment, or their tolerance level when it comes to their emotional strength and mental strength, some of them can't handle that well. And that can lead to, either depression or, can go to the extreme of even suicide if they feel like that pressure of opinions and comments from other people is so weighing on them that they just can't deal with it anymore. What's up, Fritzy? Okay, so let me continue. When he brought up grooming, the panelists fell silent or changed the subject. And that's kind of a bad thing, right? These people, either they weren't knowledgeable and they didn't want to seem for lack of knowledge in that panel, or they're unwilling to talk about it, which is a dangerous thing in itself. We all need to talk about these issues and stuff like that. Fritz, thanks for the host, dude. Crazy D is now following. Or Zeet. Thanks for the follow, dude. The audience was too quiet in a festival with tens of thousands of attendees. Mr. Halpert's talk had attracted just a half dozen. People don't want to talk about it, he said. I want to talk about it. Catching the predators. New Jersey police departments were flooded with phone calls from parents and teachers alarmed about pedophiles lurking on game sites and in chat rooms. And so law enforcement officials from across the state took over a building near the Jersey Shore, last year and started chatting under assumed identities as children. In less than a week, they arrested 24 people. No worries, Fritz. Nearly every game has a chat, so it's hard for parents to keep track even if they're doing their homework, said Lillian Daniel, a deputy attorney general in New Jersey and one of the operations leaders. So we realized there were these unregulated conversations happening. We needed to take the next step, said Christine Hoffman, an assistant attorney general who helped lead the sting. The authorities did it again, this time in Bergen County, a suburb close to New York City. They made 17 arrests, and they did it once more in Somerset County, toward the center of the state, arresting 19. One defendant was sentenced to prison, while the other cases are still being prosecuted. After the sting, the officials hoped to uncover a pattern that could help in future investigations, but they found none. Those arrested came from all walks of life. Among them were a police officer, a teacher, a minister, a nurse, a bank manager, a mechanic, a waiter, a dental hygienist, a college student, and a delivery man. It cuts across all social and racial lines, across class lines. It cuts across every line, Ms. Hoffman said. There is no profile. When announcing the arrest, the authorities highlighted Fortnite, Minecraft, and Roblox as platforms where suspects began conversations before moving to chat apps. And of course, the reason for that is because those are games that are probably the most popular of their genre and amongst children themselves, right? And they have features which enable communication from user to user. In a separate case in Ohio, the digital abuse of a young boy led to his physical abuse. The offender, Jason Gmoser, I don't know how to pronounce that, Gmoser, would encourage boys to show their genitals while on PlayStation, according to court records. Mr. Gmoser, who was found with over 500 videos recorded while gaming with boys, often offered gift cards that could be used on the network. He told detectives in 2014 that he spent years interacting with an 8-year-old who had appeared in several of the videos, including one in which a boy exposed himself and said he would do anything for a $20 gift card. Yeah, it is terrible. Mr. Gmoser traveled to Missouri to visit the boy and his family, showering them with gifts and paying for some of their bills. On at least one trip, he said, he sexually abused the child. He is now serving a life sentence in a separate case for running a child sexual abuse site on the dark web. Any young person who converses online with strangers is at risk. Let me say that again. Any young person who converses online with strangers is at risk. In 2018, 3 men from across the country were convicted of running a sextortion ring for years that lured hundreds of children, some as young as 8, from social and video streaming platforms that include LiveMe, Omegle, Musical.ly, the predecessor of TikTok, Skype, Snapchat, and Twitter's Periscope. The men pretended to be teenage boys and girls and coerced children into undressing and performing explicit acts. They shared files and information about the victims over Discord. In other case, a girl attending high school in Tennessee thought she had made a new female friend on Kik Messenger. They both loved volleyball, and they even resembled each other physically. Their profile photos showed. They chatted for 6 months. After the teenager shared a partially nude photo of herself, the friend became threatening and demanded that she record herself performing explicit acts. You literally have no choice but to obey unless you want your pic spread to your friends, the person wrote, according to court records. The girl told her mother, who called the police. The offender was a Louisiana man, Matthew Cheney Walker, who was 24 years old at the time of the chat in 2014. The police said Mr. Walker, now in prison, had forced more than 50 girls to send him nude and sexually explicit photos. The photos of the Tennessee teenager were never shared publicly, but she said in an interview with The Times that she was haunted by the experience years later. Quotation, I thought for a long time that there was something wrong with me, or that I was a bad person, she said. Now that I've gotten to college, I'll talk to my friends about it, and there have been so many girls who have said that exact same thing happened to me. An industry without answers. There are a few seemingly simple protections against online predators, but logistics, gaming culture, and financial concerns present obstacles. Companies who could require identification and parental approvals to ensure games are played by people of the same age, but even as some platforms have experimented with programs like Real ID, a verification effort, gamers have resisted giving up anonymity. There's been community-layered rejection of those systems because people like to be able to be anybody, said Todd Harris, who co-founded Hi-Rez, a game development studio based in Atlanta. While Facebook has algorithms that can detect some text-based grooming, many gamers use audio and video chat, and eliminating audio and video interactions would be a death sentence for a gaming company fighting for customers. Quotation, you can't seriously compete without talking, Mr. Harris said. The team with the best communication will win. In 2016, an industry coalition was formed to create a common front on online bullying, hate speech, and child exploitation. But officials with the group said they would not publish a series of guidelines for companies until next year. Separately, some gaming companies deploy automated systems that they say can detect some grooming behaviors, including attempts to move a chat off platform. Roblox, for instance, uses software from Two Hat Security. Two Cat, by the way, is a member of the Fair Play Alliance, a Canadian firm designed to block explicit language and contact information. The company takes other measures, a Roblox spokesman said, prohibiting users from asking about names and ages. For children under 13, the spokesman said, filters are more aggressive. Microsoft, which owns Xbox and the popular game Minecraft, said it planned to release software early next year that could recognize some forms of grooming and sextortion. The company said it would offer this software to other tech businesses free of charge. Marc-Antoine Durand, the chief operating officer of Yubo, a video chat app based in France that is popular among teenagers, said it would start working this year with a company called Yoti to analyze users' selfies and estimate their ages. Yobu also examines profile information to separate adults from minors, Mr. Durand said, and watches for grooming behavior with the Two Hat software. Yubo disables accounts when it finds an age discrepancy, often requiring users to provide a government-issued ID. But users frequently object to providing documentation, and many children do not possess it. In February, a 26-year-old Ohio man, was charged with sexual exploitation after claiming to be 13 on Yubo and luring a 12-year-old girl, the authorities said. Was that just a random alert? Because oh, thanks for the host. Where are my alerts? I need to, it is muted. I don't know how I am getting a, whatever, we'll continue. I muted the audio for that, but somehow it's still ringing through the stream, which is annoying. A Facebook spokeswoman said it had made a variety of efforts to separate adults from children, including limiting how adults can message and connect with them. The Times was able to find minors by looking at users' list of friends and activities on pages popular with children. Instagram, owned by Facebook, does not have the same restrictions. Until the past week, it had allowed users to send private messages to anyone. And a Times reporter was able to conduct a video chat with a 13-year-old girl who had a private account. The girl and her parents gave permission to conduct the test. After the Times asked about the policy, Instagram announced new features on Wednesday that allow users to, allow users to block messages from people they do not follow. The company said it would also require users to enter their age when signing up. That kind of policy is kind of wishy-washy, because even though you might require somebody to enter their age, as I have found with sites like Facebook and stuff like that, they ask you what your age is and whatnot. What usually happens is, in order to access the features that minors aren't able to access without claiming that they're 18, what they will do is they'll just claim they're 18 anyways. And what are the repercussions, right? Soul, what's up, dude? Other companies have taken a more hands-off approach, citing privacy concerns. A member of the trust and safety team at Discord said that it scanned shared images for known illegal material and that moderators reviewed chats considering a high risk. The company does not, however, automatically monitor conversations for grooming, suggesting it would be unreliable and a privacy violation. So the question becomes, at what point are you protecting children? And then at what point is a perceived privacy violation a reason to not protect children, right? We use industry-leading technology such as a photo detection software to scan every image and video for child pornography, a Discord spokesman said. Some of the biggest gaming companies provided few, if any, details about their practices. Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, which has roughly 250 million users, did not respond to multiple messages seeking comment. Sony, the maker of PlayStation, which had nearly 100 million monthly active users earlier this year, said it took extortion seriously, pointing to its tutorials on parental controls and tools that let users report abusive behavior. But the solution many game developers and online safety experts return to is that parents need to know what their children are playing, and that children need to know what tools are available to them. Sometimes that means blocking users and shutting off chat functions, and sometimes it means monitoring the games as they are being played. Literacy is a word I say 1 billion times a day, said Mr. Gadderts of the Esports Foundation. So this article goes on. How much do I have left? Okay, we're almost at the end, so I'll just finish it off, and then we can really kind of sit and discuss and whatnot. A friend of somebody. When Kate started scrolling through her son's Discord account, she saw how the sexualized chats had unfolded. The imagery became, this is kind of following up on where it started, right? The imagery became increasingly disturbing, moving from innocuous anime figures to pornographic illustrations, and finally to actual children being abused. So Kate started asking her son about some of the usernames of his fellow gamers. And he's saying, that's so, and so who goes, that's so-and-so who goes to this school. And they all think it's a friend of somebody, she said. But then they realize it's not a friend of anybody. Kate reached out to Discord to alert them to the problem. The company wrote back saying that because her son had deleted the messages, it no longer had the data that could take no action. Quotation. First, I was very sad, but I am really angry, she said. At DreamHack, the festival in Atlanta, many parents accompanying their children described how confusing it was to keep track of the various chats and streams their young gamers use. We're not gamers, so we're relying on our son to tell us about how it all works, which is probably naive, said John Marshall of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, whose 17-year-old son was competing at the festival with his high school gaming team. His wife, Rhonda, compared the predicament to watching a child get behind the wheel of a car. You have to trust them. Miss Marshall said it was also hard to ignore the potential upside of their son's gaming. He kept telling me, Mom, you told me I shouldn't spend so much time on computers, but I can get scholarships for this, she said. Still, there's no hiding the dangers. Christy Custer, the principal at Complete High School Mays in Kansas, helped design the curriculum used by many high school esports teams. Quotation. Right now, in the curriculum, we have a section on, if this happens to you, this is what you do, she said. But we probably need to say, when this happens to you, this is what you need to do. Dr. Cluster said parents should react carefully when their children report encounters with online predators, punishing the children, no more video games or social media, for example, could backfire by punishing them into even more dangerous places for their online activity. You just did exactly what the predator wanted them to do and drove them into the darker space, she said. Okay, so that ends the article by the New York Times. Again, that's titled Video Games and Online Chats Are Hunting Grounds for Sexual Predators. Let me take a drink real quick. So let me comment on a few, let me bring that up again, on a few portions of that article and some of the things that I think of. Let's go directly to where we just ended up there at the end of the article. So what was the comment? The comment was punishing the children, no more video games or social media, for example, could backfire by punishing them into even more dangerous places for their online activity. So let me comment on that. And let me give you, for anybody that watches a stream or is going to watch the VOD afterwards or anything like that, what should you do as a parent when you have a kid and you suspect or you feel like they're being put in a position that will put them at danger with an interaction with another person? It's a hard decision to make, because on one end, you don't want to take something away that can be positive for the child, right? Like she said, the kid commented to her that he could get scholarships for this because he's so involved with computers. And possibly even in the future when it comes to esports and professional gaming. Because like the article stated, some colleges and universities and even high schools are establishing esports teams, just like they would a soccer team or football team, baseball team, hockey teams in certain areas. So you are kind of damaging the potential of what that kid is able to achieve through that platform of gaming and computers and stuff like that. But let me tell you some of the things that you can do if you feel like your kid is headed in that direction or is being exposed to that sort of thing. Take away all their social media. Some people aren't going to like that. They're going to think it's a little bit controlling. But I can tell you one thing. While it might not now, and this is assuming that the child has established a relationship with somebody that they still feel is a good relationship between them and that person. This is assuming that. You might upset them for a while. But in the long run, if you can take away all ability to communicate with that person, you essentially cut off that link. Because what happens in a lot of these situations is that person, sometimes they're close in proximity. But most of the time, because it's over the internet, because there's an ability to communicate through some distance, that person is probably a good distance away from your child. Cutting off their ability to communicate with that person is probably the best thing that you can do. And ultimately, that is the only solution, right? Besides if that person is a sexual predator and stuff, getting them reported to the police and having them go to a court and be accountable for what they're doing and their actions. The end result is cutting that tie between those two people. The person that is preying on the child and the child whom, for a lack of knowledge and experience, doesn't know any better. It is not their right to be able to act in a way that counts on them having an advanced knowledge and experience of the situations that they're being put into. It is your right as a parent and as a facilitator of the connection between those two to cut that off. Because you do know better. Except for ignorance. And when I say ignorance, I know that seems kind of violent and judgmental. But ignorance, just all that means is a lack of knowledge. Because of the, ignorance of a parent when it comes to those types of situations, regardless of that ignorance, that connection needs to be cut off. And the people who are adults who are old enough to create these applications, that are old enough to have children and stuff like that, they're the ones that need to be responsible for regulating the modes of communication between those two people. So that is my opinion on that specific subject of what should be done. If you eliminate their ability to communicate, then you eliminate at least a majority of the potential connections that those people can have. You eliminate their ability to communicate. You reduce the amounts of instances that they're able to be subjected to that could be harmful to them. Okay, so that is what I say regarding to that, because they're going as a parent like, I don't know if I should cut them off, but I don't want them to be abused. Cut them off. There are other games out there where you don't have to communicate. A lot of games actually have features where you can eliminate communication altogether. And if you're unsure or you're unable to regulate that communication, if you want your kids to play those games, you're going to have to be present when they do so, as much as they might not like it, because some kids are going to want to play with their parents and some kids aren't, and they're just going to be resistant to it. But it's your responsibility to keep that child from being harmed in the end, regardless, correct? Okay, so let's go. Okay, so I'm just going to speak on the case of companies that find themselves as the facilitator. I'm not going to say unwitting facilitator, but the unwanted facilitator for these type of instances. As a company, a lot of companies they are only a company producing things for the bottom line. They're there to make money. The money enables them to continue to create games and provide forms of entertainment that people enjoy and stuff like that. I think it's a huge misstep when companies start involving politics of financials with the almost certain dangers of what can be done through the product that they provide. I think the only solution, and a lot of companies, they kind of tiptoe around all these subjects because they're afraid it will hurt their bottom line. But the pure fact is, when you worry about privacy and requesting things that will protect other people, like age verification and stuff like that, you're only going to hurt your bottom line if it's one company doing it. If you all band together and you all require it, then your consumers have no other choice but to give you that minuscule information to help protect themselves. Okay? And if every developer does it, that means there's no other developers that are trying to skirt around. And the games that people want to play, they're going to be forced to have to give that information. And then you then become less liable for the actions that occur through your applications and games and stuff like that. So you can sit there and you can tiptoe around the subject, over and over and over again, and just worry about protecting yourself and your bottom line and your investors or your board or your stock prices and all that kind of stuff. Or you can start worrying about the actual people who use your game. And I guarantee once you start worrying about the people that use your game, your bottom line is actually going to raise. You're going to make more money. Why? Because people are going to be happier. They're going to be getting the product that they want, not the situations that are being forced upon them by people that are being allowed to do what they want. Okay, so we went a lot into the possibilities of predators and stuff like that when it comes to kids and gaming. With a lot of games, people are able to chat through voice communication, in-game text chat, that sort of thing. There aren't many games that I know of where you can actually share pictures with each other, with the exception of like CSGO and stuff like that, where you remember they could spray like images and whatnot. But most of the communication when it comes to the actual game itself has to do with a in-game voice or a text chat. Outside of games themselves, there are applications and websites. I think those are probably the most capable to be able to regulate those kind of interactions, including social apps, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that sort of thing. They have certain ways of being able to communicate with each other that can be regulated. Yes, do we want to protect people's privacy? Of course. Does that same protection of privacy go to the extreme with children as it does with the adults? No, for the most part, adults are able to make their own decisions. You know, a lot of their actions, stuff like that, they're liable for, right? That's why they're able to be prosecuted in a court of law. They're liable for their own actions. Children, while they act of their own accord, they're also subject by ignorance and lack of experience to people who are more knowledgeable and experienced. They're subject to their forced harm, for lack of a better word. So I think those companies have a bigger ability to kind of regulate those things. Like I said, the only thing that is keeping those things from happening is first the discussion, solution, and then implementation of things to make those happen. And because companies compete with each other, they're always afraid that if they take action to do the right thing, then their company will not exist to continue to do the right thing. So if they put all these requirements on people to, you know, verify their age and stuff like that, their competitor who's not doing it is going to take all their business. And that's where we have to get everybody on the same page, so that it no longer becomes a negligence of a company to their customer because they're worried about their bottom line and their competitiveness with another company. Let's see. What else did we talk about in that article? Okay, let's stop talking about that article. How about that? Everything kind of comes out of what we talked about. Of course, you know, child abuse, whether by predators and stuff like that, is one of them. Of course, there's cyberbullying, which is more talked about and more in the public spotlight than sexual abuse of minors. And then, of course, there's, you know, toxic behavior in general, which is a bad influence to children who are learning how to socialize in our civilization with other people. And then we're teaching them the bad habits because we're anonymous through their screen. And they're going to then carry those bad habits on into their real life. And you have to ask yourself, if you're one of those people, do you want to be responsible for the bad influence that you put on other people? Is your anonymity and your self-importance that critical that you're willing to negatively affect somebody else's life and the way they're able to interact within society, Is that more important? Why? Why do you feel like you need to act the way you do? Why do you change your behavior when you go online? What is 1mm gang, Batman? That's an important question. Why is your ego and your confidence boosted by inflating yourself amongst people who have no repercussion and consequence to you? Why does it make you feel like a bigger person, a more accomplished person, to break somebody down that, one, probably doesn't care to want to have to defend themselves, but two, might not have the skills or experience to be able to defend themselves? I play Call of Duty Modern Warfare a lot lately. Now, I've been through a lot in my life. I have a lot of experience and I have a lot of knowledge to kind of work off of when it comes to the way I react to things emotionally and mentally and even physically when it comes to stress. So I'm able to deal with things a lot better. I've always been a pretty calm person anyways. But not everybody has that. And when I play Modern Warfare, there are so many people. It's just one match. But their first instinct is to break the other person down, even when they lose. And even maybe more so when they lose, because their ego is damaged. I lost. I'm somehow less of a person because I lost to you. There's no way I could possibly lose because, you know, I must be so great. And therefore, you must have gained the system in some way to beat me. You sound like a little kid. Grow up. Get more mature. I can't wait till your balls drop. Sorry for saying this kind of things on this stream, but you know, it's real examples of things that happen. And a lot of games like that where you find yourself in a situation that is more competitive and the goal is to win. Either what most people do is either they win and then beat you down because of it, because you must be trash if they beat you in one match. Or somehow you're trash and you cheated because they lost and you won. Is your ego that weak that you need to say that? Is something going on in your life? Siri, I'm not talking to you. Did I say your name? I'm just like, every time I hear that sort of thing in a game, I shake my head. I just can't believe that people are that way. I mean, I believe it because I believe everything, because I've seen everything and I've seen how people are and I've seen how people can be a certain way. And then at the drop of a hat can change and be a completely other way. Why? Because we are all human. Our minds and hearts work second to second. We can change our opinions and ideals and the way we interact with other people just like that. So I understand it. You know, I'm not surprised by it. But what I do wish is that people would use more thought. Use that conscience inside of their head to make a decision. Do I need to do this? Is this worth it? Does this help me in some way? Am I a better person because of this? I think not. If you're the kind of person who is using your words to tear down other people and to hurt other people, then I would argue that you're the complete opposite of a better person for that. Why does that matter? Why does it matter to you? Why does it matter to that person? Why does it matter to anybody else who is third party to what is going on, what you're saying or what the other person is saying? It doesn't. Those are the things I would like to see change. I hope for my kids, my 3 kids, that they don't become the way that I view and hear and see other people when it comes to not only online gaming, but any social interaction, politics, physical sports, workplaces, friendships. I want to see my kids, they don't have to be a coward. They don't have to bend their knee. Popular term. They can be strong people. But tearing down other people doesn't make you a strong person. Tearing down other people means that you perceive a weakness within inside of you, which is inside of you. And you are somehow trying to compensate. So every time I hear somebody try to tear other people down online in games, oh my God, I bust up. Because I don't think people realize what they're doing and what they're saying. I don't think people realize the reasons for why those words come out of their mouth. If they did realize, they'd be like, Jesus, what am I doing? Is this the way I want to act? Is this the way I want to be? Is this the kind of person I want to be? Do I want to be stronger? If that's the case, then maybe I should change the way I act towards other people. It takes more strength and resilience to be nice to somebody when they're being, offensive and mean to you than it does to react to them. I'm guilty of that. You're guilty of that. The people you play with are guilty of that. There's very few among us that have the strength to be able to deal with things maturely, even when we're talking about something like games. And let's face it, those kids that started off playing the first incarnations of what games are, and the first incarnations of the platforms that supplied those games, those kids are adults now. That's me. That's you. We're adults now, playing games. And our kids are playing those games. So at what point are you going to start growing up and teaching yourself, your kids, and the people around you to start behaving in a mature way, using good sportsmanship, treating them like other human beings, realizing that you are not just looking at a screen with moving pixels on it, that you are interacting with other people, that those people have feelings, that those people go to school, they go to work, they have parents, they have uncles, they have adopted parents, they have guardians, they have sisters, brothers, they have animals, they have feelings. There's many instances of people so damaged by their interactions online with games and with other people where they, inflict self-harm on themselves. Are you a better person for causing that person to do that? Are you cool? Are you strong? Or are you just a bad person for doing that? Can you change it? Can you change them? Can you teach them? Why don't you turn that around and teach them? Be an example. I'm ranting now. But as those of you who know me, when I get passionate about something, I tend to rant. I have 3 kids. I should hope that regardless of the way other people treat them, they learn how to treat other people. And I would hope the people that they interact with, people like possibly you, learn how to interact with them. Anybody could be your friend. Anybody could be, your neighbor, the person you play a game with, the person you walk by on the street, or a person that you may never, come within close proximity of them ever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the way that you treat them. That's the end of my rant. I don't know if any of you guys have anything to say on that topic. If you want, go ahead and say it right now. Otherwise, if you guys have nothing to say, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up. But I'll give you a little time to respond if you do want to respond. By the way, drinking this while talking a lot, not a good idea. There's some carbonation in there. When I was reading that article, it made me want to burp more than once. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you for watching. Thank you if you stuck around and watched me rant. PG-13 curse. What's up, Night Howler? I am now going to end this conversation. I will try to put this up as a VOD on YouTube. Hashtag not a clan, correct. And if you stick around, I'm going to relaunch my stream and we're going to play some Modern Warfare. You can come watch me be a real man. Watch how I interact with other gamers. Anyways, thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for hearing me rant. Until next time, I'm GamesWithNix. Bye-bye.